Hey, fellow Jedi. I'm Mike, and you're watching Force Within TV. And today we're talking about who could survive Star Wars Rebels Season 4. And I do believe that is going to be the last season. So it's basically who could survive, after Season 4. And we're really going to go through most of the major characters here. At the time of recording, this is after day one of Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017. And we just got some new information about Rex, basically how, his look for season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. And there were rumors flying around. I think it was actually confirmed that Rex is the older gentleman with the white beard in Return of the Jedi. So, he'd be in his 60s, I think, at that point, which is maybe a bit ridiculous, but with somebody with that much, experience, I'm sure, it was probably a volunteer, if I remember correctly, it was probably a volunteer situation, so he made a volunteer to go down to Endor. But Rex, it looks like he is going to survive Season 4, absolutely. We also got a little tease on day one from Dave Filoni, and he said that the answer to Ahsoka's, whether she's alive or dead, is going to be addressed in Season 4. He's not going to leave us hanging. The answer is coming. I think she's going to be some sort of manifestation of the Force. I don't think she'll be a Force ghost. I don't think she was able to do that. But the Convery, the owl type animal, I think she'll show up some way in nature, and she will, in Season 4, she will act as sort of the guidance, the wise individual, sort of like the Bendu in Season 3. And, she may send Ezra and Kanan on a mission, which is what I'm going to talk about later with them. So let's talk about, before we get to Ezra and Kanan, though, let's talk about Hera and Chopper. Now, it has been confirmed by Dave Filoni that they were at least around during A New Hope, and that was Chopper, Hera, and the Ghost was around for A New Hope. I'm not sure exactly when that was. I've had a couple commenters say that. I've had discussions with other folks on YouTube who do videos and say that has been confirmed. Apparently Sam Whittaker, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, sorry Sam, and like he's watching. And anyway, apparently he mentioned that as well, that Hera lives. So that's an interesting development. I mean, it does make sense at the point of Rogue One. Hera is alive, and we know that she's a general. So, when you think about generals, you don't think about somebody who's really on the front lines, in harm's way. So there's a very good chance that, she's going to be behind the scenes making decisions and helping out in that way. But now let's talk about Kanan and Ezra, and I think their paths are pretty connected here. I think there's two ways that they survive Season 4 and go on to live, even though, we don't see them in the original trilogy. I mean, the movies, the original trilogy movies are just really a snapshot in time, right? I mean, there is so much space and so much else that is going on in the universe. The Aftermath novels have done a pretty good job of showing us just how big and how much conflict is happening in the universe. So I think it's very possible that Kanan and Ezra could survive and just be in different locations at the time of those movies. Really, all the characters could. So anyway, let's get into it here. So Kanan, I think Kanan is the most likely to have a heroic death. He could survive. I think he could be helping Sabine on Mandalore. I think that is going to be a very long conflict, right? It's probably not going to be wrapped up by Season 4. It could indeed be a brand new show, right? That they could take Star Wars Rebels and turn it into, something more Mandalorian that really goes over the Mandalorian War. And, so that would be interesting. As I mentioned before, Ahsoka, if she comes back and she's communicating with Kanan and Ezra through the Force, she could actually send them on a mission, some unfinished business, right? Maybe to figure out something about Vader, or how to defeat the Sith, or to find a lost Jedi temple, a holocron that is going to help them unlock some secrets to defeating the Sith. There's so many different things that could happen to Kanan and Ezra to sort of take them out of the picture during the original trilogy and be off on their own adventure. So that would be cool. I mean, that could be like a spin-off comic book or a novel. The sky's the limit there. So that could even be Yoda as well. I think I'm going to do a video about how Yoda may return in season 4, so I'm going to hold off on sort of speculating on that. But Ezra, I think, could be, very similar. He could tag around with Kanan. If they do go on that adventure, it makes sense that they would do it together. Again, a great book or comic book. Or he could stay and help Sabine. He could even end up, being in a relationship with Sabine, even though it's more of a brother-sister relationship. They could be together and rule Mandalore together. That would be interesting, considering the conflict that has traditionally, historically been between the Mandalorians and the Jedi. I also think that Ezra is going to end up a gray Jedi, similar to Ahsoka. So that could be, that could be a whole adventure on its own as well. He could be the other that Yoda talks about as well, right? So maybe he does stay a Jedi, and he's around during the Empire Strikes Back. So there's lots of opportunity, I think, for Kanan and Ezra to survive. Even though I think Kanan is most likely going to die, there's still lots of ways that they could spin this. Sabine. So I think Sabine, talking about Kanan and how he might be the most likely to die, I think Sabine is actually most likely to survive. I think she's going to be on Mandalore with her family. The conflict on Mandalore is going to be very long. I think that, she is going to end up, even though she says late in season 3 that she's going to find somebody to rule Mandalore, I think that's actually a little trick, and she's not going to be able to find anybody. Or by the time she's defeated all of her enemies, those individuals who would step up and rule Mandalore have died, right? I think it's going to be a horrible conflict, and I think she ultimately, it's her destiny to step up and take over Mandalore. And it would be cool to see Ezra by her side, like I've already mentioned. Okay, and I've already mentioned that could be a whole another TV series, comic book spin-off. Okay, so really we're just left with Zeb here. Zeb, is he going to survive? It seems like Christian Harloff on Collider Video, he's always saying he's gonna die, or it just seems like there's several people online that I listen to, and it's like, oh yeah, Zeb's definitely gonna die at some point, right? Because he is just the muscle, and he kind of deserves that heroic death, similar to Kanan. But hey, there's lots of things that Zeb could do as well. Zeb could still be around during Rogue One, just because his name wasn't on the intercom. It would make sense that if Kanan was on some grand adventure with Ezra to track something down for the Jedi, or something like that, that Zeb would be there with Hera, right? Kanan would say, hey buddy, listen, we need you to take care of, I need you to take care of Hera for me while I am gone. That totally makes sense. And he could also go and rejoin his people. There was that great episode where, the sort of the lost Lasats, I believe is what it was called. And a few remaining Lasats actually find their homeworld in the, I believe it's a little lost space, or the Outer Rim, beyond the Outer Rim. But yeah, that would be really interesting to see as well. So, overall, guys, what do you think? Do you think everybody's going to survive? I mean, it is a kid's show. I understand that there's sort of been a precedent set by Rogue One that, because these characters weren't around during the original trilogy, that it would make sense that they all die. But, I think we're coming from we're looking at this from a different angle. This is a kid's show. It doesn't make sense that all the characters would die. And I think they could all survive. Not to mention, Lucasfilm has spent so much time developing Ezra's character, right? He's still so young. He's got so much to do in the universe, and there is so much space and time for all of these characters to be doing things while the original trilogy is going on. All right, so that's it for today. Listen, guys, it would be awesome if you would head on over to my channel. Please subscribe, and while you're there, check out my Motivational Monday, where I take Star Wars and I try and motivate you for the week, looking at Star Wars quotes and characters. That'd be great if you could check out those videos and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you always. Please consider subscribing, checking out my Jedi Train Like a Jedi series. Maybe check out a recent video, or down in the video description you will find several links to my website, including a table of contents of all the Train Like a Jedi series.